Hey there, folks. Let me tell you about the scariest snowstorm I've ever experienced. It was the dead of winter, and I was visiting a remote mountain cabin with a few friends. The forecast had warned of a heavy snowfall, but we thought we were prepared for it. Little did we know what was in store for us. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the snow started to fall. It was picturesque at first, soft flakes drifting lazily from the sky. But soon it intensified, turning into a relentless whiteout. The wind howled like a banshee, and the trees groaned under the weight of the accumulating snow. Our cozy evening turned into a battle for survival. The power went out, leaving us in eerie darkness, illuminated only by occasional flashes of lightning. We huddled together, trying to stay warm and keep our spirits up. But fear crept in as the storm raged on outside. The isolation was overwhelming. The phone lines were down and the roads were impassable. We were trapped, cut off from the rest of the world. And then, the strangest thing happened. The howling wind seemed to morph into voices, distant whispers that sent chills down our spines. One by one, strange things began to occur. Objects moved on their own. Shadows danced along the walls, and we heard unexplained footsteps in the snow outside. We tried to reassure ourselves that it was just our imaginations running wild, but deep down, we knew something wasn't right. The night seemed endless, and with each passing hour, our fear grew. It was as though the storm had awakened something ancient and malevolent, something that was toying with us, testing the limits of our sanity. Just when we thought we couldn't take it anymore, the storm began to subside. The morning light filtered through the windows, revealing a landscape transformed by the blizzard. As we cautiously stepped outside, we found no footprints other than our own, no signs of any other presence. To this day, I can't explain what happened that night. Was it the isolation playing tricks on our minds, or did the storm awaken something supernatural? All I know is that I've never looked at a snowstorm the same way again. Okay, folks, huddle closer. Winds howling like a banshee outside, and the snow's coming down sideways, thick as pea soup. This ain't your typical winter wonderland, mind you. This is the kind of storm that makes old-timers nod grimly and mutter about blizzards of 47. I'm stuck out here, miles from town, in this creaky old cabin my grandpa built. Power's been out for hours, and the only light comes from the fire crackling in the hearth. Every now and then, a gust rattles the windows like an impatient hand, flinging ice pellets against the glass. It all started innocently enough. Woke up to a light dusting, sun peeking through fluffy clouds. Perfect day for a solo ski, I thought. So I strapped on my gear, headed out, leaving a thermos of hot cocoa and a crackling fire waiting back at the cabin. Little did I know, I was stepping into a snowstorm that ate sunshine for breakfast. The wind picked up first, whispering secrets through the pines, twisting snowflakes into miniature tornadoes. Visibility dropped faster than a drop pie. 1 minute, I was gliding down a familiar slope. The next, I was lost in a whiteout, trees looming like shadowy ghosts. Panic, cold and clammy, slithered up my spine. I called for help, but my phone, useless as a popsicle in hellfire, sputtered out its last breath. Then I saw it, a faint glow through the swirling snow. The old haunting lodge, abandoned by years, its windows like dead eyes staring out at the storm. Hope, fragile as a spider web, unfurled in my chest. Shelter, maybe even a radio, a way to contact help. I stumbled towards it, snow burying my legs halfway up with each step. My breath came out in ragged gasps, each inhale stinging like icicles in my lungs. Reaching the lodge, I banged on the door, heart hammering against my ribs. Silence. I peered through a grimy window. Dust-covered furniture, cobwebs draped like ghostly curtains. No sign of life. Then, from somewhere deep within the lodge, a sound. A scratching, scuttling noise, unlike anything I'd ever heard. My blood ran cold. The storm howled louder, mocking my fear. Maybe I was just hearing things, the wind playing tricks on my adult brain. But the scratching grew louder, closer, and accompanied by a low, guttural growl that sent shivers down my spine. I backed away, adrenaline thrumming through my veins. This wasn't just a blizzard anymore. This was something else. Something ancient and hungry lurking in the storm's belly. I ran, legs burning, lungs screaming, back towards the faint outline of the cabin. And that's where I am now, fire blazing, listening to the wind howl and the shadows dance on the walls. The scratching outside has stopped, but the feeling of unseen eyes on me makes my skin crawl. The storm rages on, a white shroud over the world, and I can't help but wonder what else is out there, waiting in the swirling snow. It was a winter unlike any other. The weather forecast predicted a regular snowfall, nothing out of the ordinary. But that night, something sinister brewed within the clouds. As the first flakes began to fall, there was an ominous vibe in the air, an unspoken warning that this storm was different. I was at a remote cabin, seeking solace in the quiet of the mountains. But soon, the tranquility turned into a nightmare. The snow fell so fast and thick. It was like a curtain blocking out the world. The wind howled with an otherworldly fury, rattling the windows and doors as if demanding entry. We lost power early on, plunging us into an abyss of darkness. The only illumination came from the occasional crack of lightning, casting eerie shadows that danced along the walls. And then, the silence was broken by an unsettling sound, a faint whispering that seemed to come from the storm itself. As the night wore on, things took a terrifying turn. Objects began to move on their own. Doors creaked open without anyone touching them, and the temperature dropped to an unnerving degree. It was as though the storm had a malevolent consciousness, toying with us, testing our resilience. But the scariest part was the figure we saw in the midst of the blizzard, a shadowy silhouette that seemed to materialize and vanish in the blink of an eye. Each time we glimpsed it, a sense of dread settled over us, a feeling that we were being watched by something not of this world. We huddled together, trying to weather the storm, both outside and within our shelter. The night stretched on endlessly, and every sound seemed magnified, sending shivers down our spines. We were trapped in a nightmare that felt all too real. When morning finally broke, The storm had passed. We cautiously stepped outside, half expecting to find traces of the mysterious figure or some evidence of the surreal events. But there was nothing. No footprints, no signs of intrusion, just a pristine, snow-covered landscape.